All righty, folks. What's up? How are we doing? Back 10K bets, Ryder Cup preview. Join alongside Mr. Bossman. Bossman, how are we doing?
Good, man. I was just gonna ask you what your strategy is for staying up for this godforsaken golf tournament, considering it's across the pond. I think there's 7 hours ahead in Rome.
Mhm.
I've tried to plan out my strategy of how the hell I'm gonna watch this thing, and every time I think I have an edge figured out that wouldn't completely ruin my sleep schedule and my weekend, the math doesn't add up. So I'm curious, as you're debatably even a bigger golf nut than me, of how you're going to navigate this without completely fucking over your weekend.
Yeah. No, I know it's tough. It's hard. Basically, I decided that I'm better at night. I'm more of like a night owl than I am like like a morning guy. So I am gonna. My plan is, of course, I'm sure it could change, but I'll be staying up until maybe around 3 or 4 in the morning, so I can watch the first session, which starts at like 12:30 here every night, 12:30 in the morning, and then I'm just gonna go to bed at 4, and I'm gonna get up at like 11 or 12. It does kind of totally, screw up the mornings as I'll be like, sleeping in late. But I know I'd like do better that way than trying to like get myself to go to bed at like 8 p.m. and then get up at 5 a.m. I just know it's not going to work. So obviously, unfortunately, due to the time change, there's just no way to watch all of it. So you got to kind of pick a session, morning or afternoon. And I'm going to pick the morning session for them, which is really like my nighttime session for us. So yeah, that's my goal. We'll see if I actually do make it until like that 4 a.m. Kind of bubble tonight. I got some, energy drinks. But I just felt that it was the only way for me to do this.
Yeah. I honestly think I was going to, so I have my alarm set for 5 a.m. and I was going to be the early morning riser, but then I kind of made the decision tonight that after football, I'm just going to essentially start watching golf and then stay up till 12:30 and basically just see how long I can stay up and make it a marathon. And
Yep.
then when I pass out, I pass out.
Yep.
That might be like really early in the morning. It might be later in the morning. The question I have for you is it really on for 12 straight hours? Because this thing goes broadcast wise from like 12 to 12 our time, or maybe 12 to 11, right?
Yeah, it's on for a while. As far as like the golf goes, I believe like the broadcast starts at midnight tonight, and then the golf starts at 12:30 a.m. and they'll be golfing until probably like 9:30 or 10 a.m. And then the last 2 hours of the broadcast is probably just like highlighting what happened in the day, where the score's at currently, maybe stuff to look forward to for day two. But yeah, as far as the golf goes, it's supposed to be the full deal, morning and afternoon sessions. So yeah, I'm excited, but evidently they're going to cover all of it. I believe it's USA.
Yeah, it's just tough because we haven't won in Europe so much. Like this, out of most sporting events, this one is so heavily favored to the home team. So I mean, what has it been since '94 that we've won in Europe? Something crazy like that. Like before you were both born. That's insane.
Yeah, it was like Clinton was still in office, or Bill. It was like Bill Clinton's like first year was '93, and I think they hadn't won since '94, like you said. So just obviously, I mean, the trends there are insane. Obviously, playing in Europe is very, very tough. It kind of almost seems like it doesn't matter as more, as far as like talent goes. When you go to Europe, it's just the fans either get in your head or whatever it is. I'm not really sure. I've never been, but absolutely nuts how with the teams they've had with Tiger Woods and they just haven't been able to win on European soil is pretty ridiculous. But honestly, like looking at the U.S. team this year, if there's ever a time to break the streak, I mean, this is the team. They are loaded 1 through 12. So yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I know you probably want to get into this, but some of the pairings for day one were a little sussy, to be honest.
Interesting.
If you want to read them off, man,
Yep.
I'm curious to get your thoughts. I'm a little fucking nervous, to be totally honest, about some of them.
Well, for starters, not seeing JT and Spieth, arguably your
the
two
greatest.
best.
Yeah, like especially when it comes to alternate shot, like those two have that weird chemistry. The picture of them as kids, where they have the hot dog and the burger, and they're 10 years old. They ride on PJs together. If you've watched Full Swing, the fact that those two aren't getting a spot, and maybe it has to do with the fact that they both played kind of shitty down the stretch of the FedEx Cup playoffs, but it's still a little concerning that you had the confidence to include them in the team despite their poor play down the stretch, yet you're going to bench them. It's kind of weird. Like, why not throw Lucas Glover or Keegan Bradley in the mix if you don't trust those guys? So I don't know. Zach John, he knows more than we do because we're stupid, but I'm a little concerned about some of the pairings for tomorrow. I think we might get worked. I'm scared we're going to get worked.
Yeah, they could get boat raced. I mean, I'm not sure. Obviously, when you're looking at them, there's really not a hole in there. It's obviously all 8 Americans, very solid golfers, but to not have JT or Spieth in there, it's weird. I don't know if it's part of their their tactics or how they're going to do it, but we can just jump into the 12:30 a.m. first tee matchup with Scotty Scheffler, Sam Burns take on Jon Rahm and Tyrell Hatton. If you were to guess, we'll do a little guess the lines here on what that matchup is. What would you have them at?
So when you say like who's favored and what the odds are?
Yeah, so just an 18-hole match play. What are the odds?
I think for that one, I like the Americans in that one. I would say though it's pretty close to even money, maybe like minus 105.
Yeah, so you're pretty much spot on there. They give the Europeans, Jon Rahm and Tyrell Hatton, a slight favor. They are minus 120. Scotty and Burns are even money. So
probably because of the fact that Sam Burns is on that team.
Right.
I get that he won the Dell match play, but outside of that, kind of weird to see him on this team and putting him with Scotty Scheffler. I guess I was watching the broadcast today. Apparently Sam Burns is he's like the worst ball striker on this team.
Yeah.
Statistically speaking, in terms of rankings. So it was a little weird to but I get why you put him with the most consistent ball striker on the team, the guy who hits the most fairways, the guy who hits the most greens. Maybe Sam Burns will save him with the flat stick. I don't know. Yeah. There's got to be something there.
Could definitely be that. I know they are like good buddies too. They like share Airbnbs on, tournaments and stuff like that. So I
just think absolutely crush coffee because Scotty Scheffler's probably never had a beer in his life.
I know. So that'll be, that's a razor thin one as far as a betting aspect goes. I think you could go either side here. I will not be putting any additional money on this one. But that should be, obviously it's the first match of 4 for the morning slate. You definitely want to get that first point on the board. And I think both teams kind of brought out potentially their best team. Obviously you're not going to pair Rahm and Rory together because then, you might have one super team, but obviously this isn't just a one match, winner take all deal. So you want to kind of even it out throughout the whole board. But yeah, it'll be a great match. Very excited for it. I definitely will be looking for a live bet, like the first team to go down a hole, live bet them, because then your odds go to like plus 200, plus 250. And it's like, well, shit, they're only down a hole and we're on the 4th hole. There's plenty of golf to play. These matches switch like crazy. So I'll definitely be looking for live bets. And maybe if Rahm and Hatton go up a couple holes early, it's not a horrible take to go with Scotty and Burns plus 300, plus 400.
Think about this though. That I think in every other match that's relevant. I think in this one you live bet the Americans if Hatton and Rom go down, because those two are two of the biggest fucking hotheads on the tour.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
if
that's true.
If they have a bad hole, man, they might just melt. They might just crumble.
I know.
So like Terrell Hatton might snap a club. Do you remember when John Rahm dropped his club like mid backswing and the shot tracer shows that it was down the middle of the fairway? Yeah. Like, I don't know if those guys, it's a slippery slope for them, to be honest. You never know.
Agree. No, I agree. They do have so much talent, but you're right. I mean, if it gets in their head, that could definitely be a slippery slope. But going on to the next match, I believe if the first one's at 12:30, I think the next one's like 12:50 or 12. I mean, they do them pretty back to back to back to back. So there's not a whole lot of time in between. But the next one we got for the Americans, Homa and Harman, who they paired together. I actually think it's a really strong pairing. Harman's big fairways, greens, doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. And then Homa's just a killer with the wedges. And they go and they play Hovland and Aberg, which is an interesting pairing. I didn't really see Hovland getting with Aberg, but it could mesh really, really well. Hovland, obviously, just all around stud player. And then I guess Aberg's just been striping his irons all week. Really good tee to green kind of player, long player. So this one's interesting. What would you have the line set on this one?
It has to be Hovland and Aberg, just because of Hovland's play down the stretch of the FedEx Cup. And Aberg was kind of a breakout guy this year. Mm-hmm. They have to be like favorites, almost minus 130, minus 140. I mean, you're right about, but Harman, he was an absolute killer in the Open. You even got the hat on. I like it. He was a killer in that tournament. He had all of those dickhead English people telling him that, he was a loser and that he wasn't going to win. And he thrived on that. And you know how nasty these crowds can get at this tournament.
I believe
he honestly might thrive off that.
Yeah. I believe one of the guys was like, Harman, you don't have the stones to finish this off.
Yeah. And then he pulled out his balls and put them both in the 18th cup. So
yeah, it was fantastic. But you're dead on. You're spot on. Hovland and Aberg are minus 140. Homa and Harman are plus 120. This is a match I honestly thought it would be a little slimmer, just because I honestly think it's dead even. But interesting for sure. Another one that's just looking for live bets, whoever goes down one early, just to get some value there. That's typically what I'll do for probably all of these, is just who goes down one early, and then you get like that at least plus 175, plus 200, depending on which team goes down early and who was favorited, prior to T-Box 1. But that's another interesting one. I think it'll be just neck and neck the whole way.
Right. Yeah, I mean, all of these are toss-ups at the end of the day, but
at
just
the end,
the way Aberg and Hovland.
Right.
Yeah, Harman and Homa are gonna have to rely on them, to hit the fairway, to play disciplined, I think, to win that match, because it's gonna be a tough one. But Hovland also had a hole-in-one on a par 4 today. Apparently, it was his second ball.
I heard it was the second ball, but
we're not going to count it. But that's still scary, right? I mean, it was pretty fucking cool when DeChambeau last year got on the green and won. I mean, imagine getting a hole-in-one in a match play tournament. Like, that's hey, you're in the fairway, cool drive, pick up your ball. Like, the hole is over. That would be an absolute dagger.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. He's
from Iowa, boys. Tim, we hope we hope you'll be watching the Ryder Cup at midnight like the rest of us Midwesterners. But we do have a little bit of a favorable start compared to the Europe, or not the Europeans, the folks on the East Coast, because it starts at 1:30 a.m. for a.m. So that's
just brutal.
They continue to get dicked by time zones.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's better if you're a morning guy. You have an extra hour to wake up, get your coffee, and turn on session 2. But I mean, if you're a night owl like me, that's brutal. I wish that it started maybe around 11:30 our time instead of 12:30, but beggars can't be choosers, and this is just the way of the road when we have a Ryder Cup in Europe. So
yep, and when we have one here, the Europeans have to deal with it. We just
exactly.
trade off. We trade off getting the short end of the stick. It's the way
Yep.
it goes.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, next, moving on, third matchup of the mornings. We have Fowler and Morikawa, a very strong team, going up against Shane Lowry and Sepp Straka. This is one for me that I think this is Americans all day.
This is a lock. This is about as close as you can get to a lock.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the Americans have the upper hand here in session 3. Morikawa has been very solid in these team events. Ricky's back. He was in Ryder Cups previously. Then he kind of went downhill a little bit, but now he's back, and those two together could be absolutely electric. So you can guess the line if you'd like, but it's pretty much what you would think.
Really quick, we got a comment here from Luke Bordson on YouTube. Shout out 10K. What's your guys' favorite matchup? In terms of the one I think we're gonna win, it's this one. Mm-hmm. Like we said, I think this is, as fans of the American Ryder Cup team, this is the closest we get to a lock. Mm-hmm. In terms of like competition, which one do you like best, Sammy?
I mean, I think the best matchup will be the last matchup of the mornings, which
that's what I was going to say.
We will get to with Xander and Cantlay going up against Rory and Tommy Fleetwood. That is absolutely electric.
That's must-see TV right there, baby.
I mean, unbelievable. It's a bummer that it's the last one because I hope I won't be on my last straw, like when they're on the whole like 10 maybe. But I'm really pushing through.
Sorry, I think I already asked you this, and then my ADHD probably kicked in. But if it's on till midnight, obviously if they tee off at 12:30, they'll be done by like 5 a.m.
That first group, that 12:30 group will be done at like 3:30 or 4. I don't know how fast they're going to be going here, but that first group, that 12:30 group of Burns, Scotty, Rahm, Hatton, that'll be the first one done because they're the first one out.
Right. But like, when will the last group be done, you think?
Probably 5:30 a.m. ish, I would assume.
So then from like 6 a.m. to noon, it's just replays for our crowd who didn't want to be hardos like us.
Correct. I mean, I would assume there's got to be somewhere you can watch that replay of that full morning slate. But as far as on USA, which is where it's broadcasted, they'll have like that hour and a half, 2 hour, kind of wait. People get food. They select the afternoon session teams, who's going up against who, and then they go right back out there for the second session.
Right. So it's just 12 straight hours of action. We love it.
Yeah. But exactly, you were dead on. Morikawa and Ricky are minus 145. Lowry and Straka are plus 125. And honestly, this is one I would definitely pay the juice for. This is, I thought it was going to be higher, to be honest, once I saw it. And it's not. It's a very respectable, very decent price to lay the juice on. So
yeah. This one's going to be exciting for sure. Cantlay and Xander have both very, I don't want to say boring games, but they don't make a ton of mistakes. They're very disciplined players.
Yep.
And then Rory is obviously like, he could drive a green. He could also block 140 yards right. Mm-hmm. And then he's playing with Aberg, right?
Rory's playing with Fleetwood.
Or with Fleetwood, yeah. And Tommy is a pretty dedicated, or a pretty disciplined player too. So I don't see, it's mostly the Rory show versus like, complete stability on the American side. Yeah. So that should be fun. But yeah, Tim, it's live on USA. Is it all day?
Yeah. From my knowledge, it's all day live. If you're looking to like get up in the morning and watch reruns, I'm not really sure where they would have that. Maybe YouTube, maybe like Peacock. But but otherwise, from my knowledge, is they start at 12:30 a.m. live on USA, and they go all day, all morning for us, all day for the Europeans. But yeah, from my knowledge, is it just starts and it goes. And as far as Midwest time, it starts at 12:30. So.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, we got a little luckier than the East Coast folks, getting it at 12:30.
But yeah, no, we touched on a little bit. Then just next, Xander Cantlay -105, Rory and Fleetwood -115. So again, just a very, very slight favorite in favor to the Europeans there. But it's really tough to bet, especially because Xander and Cantlay are pretty much automatic when they team up together. They just don't really lose. But then again, you got Rory and Fleetwood who could be one of the best teams, out there on the course today. So that'll be a no bet for me, just because it's razor thin. Obviously, you can't go wrong with either side with this one. But yeah, we're excited for that. It's a bummer that that's the last session of the morning, because I don't know if I'm going to make it through the whole thing, but I'm going to sure try.
You just look at some of these matchups and you just have to accept the fact that you're going to ruin part of your weekend, but it'd be worse than getting good sleep and having to watch all these highlights on Twitter.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. You got to watch it live. If you can, you got to watch it live.
You have to.
But that's it for our day one matchups that we know of right now and that we know the lines of. They, like I said, they will be coming out probably 6:30 a.m., 7 a.m. our time with the afternoon matchups. But for right now, this is what we have. But have you looked into Underdog? You like anything there?
Well, when we were talking this morning, the lines were up, and then it's crazy. They had lines on Underdog. By the way, promo code 10K. If you download the Underdog app, gets you. I thought I read, maybe this is just for football, but up to $500 match deposit for this weekend. I mean, this is like a sports mecca weekend, right? We have everything happening this weekend. But if you actually go to Ryder Cup now, you can bet on the individual matches of how many holes they win, how many holes they lose, how long the match goes. I feel like right away I want to put money on, let's see here. Oh, they don't even have they don't even have a line for the one that we like a lot, probably because they know it's going to be an ass kicking. But
yeah,
I mean, Scheffler and Burns, you can bet on 4.5 higher or lower holes won, 17 holes played, holes lost. I mean, you can do holes won, holes lost on any of these. I think I got to dig in a little more, but then they also have total points for the whole week.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird because some of these guys aren't even going to play every match. So you kind of have to predict early, how long each of these guys are going to go.
So the nice part about those, and I picked two of them that I put in an entry. The nice part
what do you
is,
like?
you know that everyone gets a Sunday single, right? So you know for a fact that they're sure playing once, if not probably more realistically twice or maybe 3 times, depending on who you pick. Like for instance, I took that Robert McIntyre, higher than a half point. Because I know
he just has to win a match.
Just a match. I know he's playing a Sunday single. And I know for a fact he's going to be playing at least one other, if not 2 other. So I'm thinking if I get 3 tries for him to just win once, I'm taking that. So I took McIntyre higher than a half point 1, and then I'm taking JT higher than 1.5 points 1. I think he wins 2. And so I put that in my pick'em entry.
I'm literally doing that right now. I like it.
2-legger. Yeah,
I like it. I almost want to do a 3-legger with just the matches tomorrow.
Oh, sure.
So if you were to do one, we could throw some action on all 4 of these matches and maybe do an insurance with 3 of them. I'll explain what that is at the end here. Scheffler plus Burns. You could do 17 holes played, 4.5 holes won, or 4.5 holes lost?
If I was to do that, I would probably take the lower on the 4.5 holes lost.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. Like, there's going to be a lot of ties, right? I feel like you could almost do that for all of these matches. Half of these matches are just going to be, both teams making par or birdie.
Right. To lose 5 holes in your match is
Sam Burns would have to suck for us to lose
badly.
4.5 fucking holes.
So yeah, I think that's, if I was to pick one. I also don't hate the lower on the 17 holes played, just because, if you win like 3 and 2, you're not even hitting the 17th hole. But I think the safest play there is taking the I would probably take both of those sides lower than 4.5 holes lost. I think there's just going to be a ton of halves, just moving on to the next hole kind of thing.
I think this next one's a lock, Sammy. Unfortunately for us Americans, you can call us terrorists for betting this, but we have Victor Hovland plus Ludwig Aberg, I think lower than 16.5 holes played. I think that one ends on 15, maybe even 14, 16 at the worst.
They're just such a powerful team.
They're too good.
You can call it what you want, but we're betting numbers. We're betting lines. This is just one that Hovland.
We're betting with our heart. We're not betting with our hearts. We're betting with our brains.
We're betting.
Can't just go all USA. It's not the way sports work.
Correct. If I bet with my heart, I wouldn't be betting anymore, because I would be so far in the grave that it is what it is. But I truly do believe Hovland, Aberg, although Homa and Harmon are solid, and nothing against them.
I hope I'm proven wrong.
Yeah. I just think this one goes to Hovland and Aberg for sure. And I think it is going to be like a 4 and 3, 3 and 2 kind of thing. That team's just too powerful.
So Morikawa plus Ricky. That's the one against Shane Lowry and
Sepp Straka.
Yeah. So you could do 4.5 holes lost. You could take the lower on that. Maybe 4.5 holes won. You could take the higher, but I think it's honestly less risky to take the 4.5 holes lost, because then you don't need them to necessarily win the match by a lot.
Correct.
So we're going to do the lower on that.
I like the lowers on all of these.
And then I'm just going to stay away. I'm going to stay away from the last match. I think that's just too tight. I don't know.
I don't even know how you'd handicap the last one. It's very hard. Both teams are very, very strong. I could see it going either way. I don't want really anything to do with that. Like I said, if one side goes down a couple and I can get like plus 350 live, I'll probably sprinkle that. But other than that, this one I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. And before we go, folks, those picks we made are on the Underdog Fantasy app as exclusive partner in 10,000 Takes. You can actually download the app or go to the website. I think it's legal in most states, and you can bet legally. And if you use promo code 10K, I think they're matching your deposit up to $500 this weekend. So that includes NFL. I know they're giving away $100K if you place a certain wager or a certain play on there. They have college football. They have Ryder Cup. They have tennis. They have Formula One. They have everything that's going on right now. I think even preseason hockey, I think they do stuff for, at least hockey, NFL, or hockey futures. I think there's a line on Kaprizov. So promo code 10K when you sign up. Yeah.
If you're not betting on Underdog, I'm really not sure what you're doing. You're totally missing out.
You're missing out.
So, but as far as that's all we know as far as day one. I do have some tournament bets. I'm not sure if you placed any, but a few guys, and I wrote them in my blog too, but a few guys I took shots at for top USA points. One, Homa, plus 850. Homa was 4-0 in the President's Cup. I know different. They played the World, different opponents. They were also, I think they were at home somewhere. But anyway, regardless, he's pretty solid in these events. I'm taking him plus 850 to be the top USA point scorer. And then also I'm taking Xander at plus 600. I know Xander and Cantlay will probably be together through every match, which then it just comes down to the Sunday singles. But then I'd be betting on Xander to win his Sunday single and Cantlay to lose his Sunday single. But bottom line is they got Xander at plus 600 and Cantlay plus 350. If they're tied going into the singles, I'm just going to take the plus 600 over the plus 350 all day. So that's where I saw the lines. That didn't really make sense to me, so I wanted to take Xander in that. And then as far as the European points go, I'm just taking the two guys that I think are going to be the best on Team Europe. Hovland, plus 500, a top European point scorer, and then Rahm also plus 500, top European scorer. If one of those hits, I make pretty good money there, and the same goes with the USA points for that. Did you pick a side prior?
No, but if I had to pick one, I would do the USA.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the one homer pick I would do. I don't think I could ever put money on anyone Team Europe unless it was top scorer. I would say I'm guessing Rory is the worst odd or the best odds in terms of
correct.
But the worst way to make true money.
Right.
I would do like Hovland, I think, for value, and then on the American side, I would even say maybe Scotty. Although, like I said, him being paired with Sam Burns scares me a little bit. Yeah. Just considering how Burns played down the stretch. I hope to be wrong about that, but
yeah.
I don't know.
I totally
Scotty's
hear
always
you.
reliable.
I was able to. Yeah, it's tough because obviously I'm a numbers guy. I was betting with numbers. I've been betting with numbers. A few months back, I found Europe at a plus 190.
Damn.
So I took that. I had to take that. I figured that's just way too wide for being for a Ryder Cup that the USA hasn't won on European soil in 30 years. I saw plus 190. I had to jump on that, but if I waited until right now, I would have hammered USA minus 110. It's like a pick 'em. Again, I know they haven't won here in a while, but I do think the USA roster is stronger than the Europeans. Unfortunately, a couple months back, I just couldn't pass up the European number, so I do have the Europeans. But honestly, if I was to bet it right now, I'd be all over the Americans. I think minus 110 is just way too good, especially with having the stronger 1 through 12 roster. Like you said, there's 12 points on Sunday when it's Sunday singles. So obviously, you want the strongest head-to-toe roster, and I think the Americans have that. If it's really close up until Sunday, then I think the Americans will take it. But other than that, I just got a couple guys from each team, and then it'll be just a whole bunch of live bets throughout the night and the weekend. If guys go down, I'm just going to be taking them plus money. I think the value is just far too good where you only need to hit one of two to make money there if you're getting like plus 150, 200 odds. So that's what I'm going to be doing a lot of. That's where I'll be trying to make the most of my money there. But I'm excited, man. This is like the pinnacle of golf. This is my Super Bowl. Obviously my only qualm that I have is that it's at some just god awful hours in the night, but you gotta just muscle it out, and and it'll be great. I'm really hoping that it's neck and neck to Sunday, and who knows, Saturday night I may not sleep.
Yeah, it's just because the Gophers play homecoming. I'm going to the Wild preseason game that night. I don't really know what I'm going to do. I haven't thought about it too much. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm not going to stress. I'm just going to go with the flow, sleep when I want to, and hope to see as much as I can.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with a couple of 3-hour cat naps during the day.
Right.
Like I said, I know it totally kind of ruins your whole day, but I mean, you're only going to get the Ryder Cup one weekend out of every 2 years. I mean, you gotta just bite the bullet and do it. So that's kind of how I feel. I know my weekend's shot, so whatever.
Yeah.
I've accepted it, but I think that's all we have as far as day one goes. Appreciate you hopping on, Jack, to go over this. I'm sure we'll be texting back and forth.
Oh,
as
yeah.
far as underdog pick 'em entries
We got
all
action,
weekend
baby.
long. So it'll be great. Make some money on pick 'em.
Yep.
Peace out, fellas.